माध्यम से कि पुलिस अफसर को खास करके और पदाधिकारी और विभाग के हैं उनको सेंसिटिव होना पड़ेगा ना। पुलिस को ज़्यादा हम तारीफ करेंगे आराधना सिंह जी का, दिल्ली में एक मीटिंग बुलाया था कमीशन, वहाँ आई और पूरा बयान की कैसे इन्होंने काम किया कुटी इलाके में। और भी साथी हैं और तारीफ करूँगा अनुराग गुप्ता जी, वो दिल्ली में कई बार मेरे साथ मीटिंग में आए और कैसे झारखंड की लड़की नोएडा हो या दिल्ली हो वहाँ ले जाई गई, उनके साथ शोषण हुआ, वेतन का मजदूरी का भुगतान नहीं हुआ, कैसे उन्होंने बचाया। आई एम वेरी ग्रेटफुल टू हिम। अब यहाँ मैं संक्षेप में बताऊंगा रोल ऑफ नेशनल कमीशन और शेड्यूल ट्राइब, क्योंकि यहाँ पर झारखंड में खास करके जो तस्करी, मानव तस्करी होती है ट्राइबल बच्चों की, ट्राइबल महिलाओं की, तो ये ट्राइबल कमीशन का रोल अहम होता है। जितने भी ट्राइबल कमीशन में है क्या, जितने भी एक्ट हैं शोषण को रोकने के लिए, अपराध को रोकने के लिए, वो कमीशन का वो पावर है, अधिकृत किया गया संविधान द्वारा। ये संवैधानिक व्यवस्था है, संविधान द्वारा जो मॉनिटरिंग है उस पर देखिए, ओवरसी करें, देखें कि इन कानूनों का पालन हो रहा है कि नहीं। मॉनिटरिंग करना हमारा मुख्य काम है। जितने कानून बिल्ले बना हुए, मिनिमम वेज का हुआ, प्रिवेंशन ऑफ चाइल्ड लेबर एक्ट का हुआ, इस सारी चीज़ों को हम लोग मॉनिटर करते हैं। और दिल्ली में खास करके बहुत एक्सपीरियंस हम लोग को, दिल्ली तो इसका राजधानी है, सब चीज देश की राजधानी है, तो वुमेन ट्रैफिकिंग की भी राजधानी दिल्ली है और मैं हो सकता है, लेकिन हाईलाइटेड है दिल्ली। और धन्यवाद देंगे मीडिया के लोगों को, प्रिंट मीडिया और खासकर प्रिंट मीडिया। हमारा तो काम है, हमारे सेल बना दिए हैं कमीशन में, नेशनल कमीशन शेड्यूल ट्राइब में, या अखबारों को पढ़ना और देखना कहाँ कहाँ से न्यूज आया है, किस तरह का डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का या वेज नहीं मिलने का, शोषण का, महिलाओं के साथ, बच्चियों के साथ, लड़कियों के साथ, वो सब जमा करते हैं और सरकारों से प्रतिवेदन रिपोर्ट मंगाते हैं। ये हमारा काम है। तो नेशनल कमीशन शेड्यूल ट्राइब ने अहम रोल अहम रोल अदा करने की कोशिश की दिल्ली में। हमारा हेडक्वार्टर दिल्ली में है और हम इस रोल को अदा करने की कोशिश में लगे हुए। सबसे बढ़िया एक जजमेंट आया दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का दिसंबर 2010 में, जिसमें कहा, दिल्ली सरकार को कहा हाई कोर्ट ने कि कानून बनाओ कि लड़कियां जो बाहर से आती हैं, खासकर या लड़कियां आती हैं, प्लेसमेंट एजेंसी के पास जाते हैं, जब वो ले जाए तो किया जाता है और फिर प्लेसमेंट एजेंसी जिसको जगह जगह रखवाती है, उनका रजिस्ट्रेशन आज के दिन में बहुत से ऐसे प्लेसमेंट एजेंसियां हैं जो रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है, वहाँ ले जाया जाता है बच्चों को और वो भी जगह जगह रखवाते हैं, पता नहीं चलता, माता पिता को पता नहीं चलता कि कहते कहाँ हमारे बच्चे लोग हैं। वो हमको भी टेलीफोन करते हैं, चिट्ठी लिखते हैं कि मेरी बेटी, मेरा बेटा, तो बेटा ये हो गया, दिल्ली गया है, उसको खोज दी, कोशिश करते हैं। तो मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ आपको कि आप नेशनल कमीशन, जो भी इस तरह से घटना हो, नेशनल कमीशन पर शेड्यूल है, तो जरूर खबर कीजिए। हमारे तारीफ करेंगे शक्तिवानी के श्रीकांत जी को, बराबर कॉन्टेक्ट करते हैं हम और खबर करते हैं, हम लोग इनको मदद करते हैं, शक्तिवानी की मदद करते हैं, ट्राइबल परिवार को मदद करते हैं। और इस तरह से हम रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे आप लोगों से कि आप कुछ ऐसा घटना हो तो जरूर हमको बताइए ताकि हम आपकी मदद कर सकें। ज़्यादा नहीं दूंगा, कारण बता चुके हैं लोग और उसका निदान भी आप निकालेंगे 2 दिन, आज और कल के डिस्कशन में, तो उस पर ज़्यादा चर्चा हमको नहीं करना है। इतना ही कहकर आपको धन्यवाद देता हूँ, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
हम आपका तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करते हैं और अभी हम आमंत्रित करते हैं यूएस कॉन्सुलेट कोलकाता मिस हेलेन लाफा को उनके 2 शब्दों के लिए हम आमंत्रित करते हैं।
Namaskar, Salam alaikum, good morning. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Mr. PM Nair. You are, as I think of you a legend in the area of anti-trafficking, and I'm honored to be here with you today. Thank you to the chairperson of the National Commission of Scheduled Tribes, Mr. Rameshwar Orion. Thank you very much for being here today. I also want to thank the two ministers who had to leave, the Honorable Minister for Women and Child Welfare, Ms. Louise Morandi, and the Honorable Minister for Education, Ms. Neera Yanya. Mostly, I want to thank all my colleagues in the anti-trafficking community here today, my friends and the champions for the cause, the media. I want to make sure I especially point out that we have colleagues here working on this issue from India, from the United States, from Nepal, from France. I believe we have colleagues here from the United Kingdom, and we may even have somebody here from Bangladesh. So I'm very happy, and I hope I haven't missed anybody as I lay out the countries that are represented here today. I want to welcome you all to the 4th Trafficking in Persons Conclave hosted by the United States Consulate, which is based in Calcutta. It's a consulate that covers the eastern and northeastern region of India. So out of Calcutta for the United States government, we cover Jharkhand here in Ranchi. I'm very honored that you joined us here today, and I'm inspired and humbled that you are here, and it's my sincere hope that we'll have good deliberations over the next day and a half and able to be productive and useful for all of us here. I also want to make sure I point out how grateful and honored we are to have as a partner in pulling together and organizing this conclave, Shakti Vahini. They've done a wonderful job, and I very much appreciate all the hard work that they've done. I know that so many of you have dedicated yourselves to ensuring justice and freedom for oppressed and marginalized people. It's a privilege to have visited many of your organizations, seeing the sites, leading different teams working on these issues, knowing the people in leadership, and also the people who have themselves been oppressed or victimized by trafficking. I know that the work you are doing, you're helping and empowering to help them gain their own life, their lives, is truly inspirational. I think that the work that everybody in this room does and has a prospect of doing in the future is really transformational for India and certainly for other parts of the world on this issue. It has been an incredible journey at the U.S. Consulate working on trafficking. We've had the opportunity to work with so many interesting people and doing very fascinating and important work. The first conclave was in Calcutta. We actually had 2 in Calcutta in 2012, and we focused on commercial sex work. In 2013, we took the conclave to Guwahati and looked specifically at cross-border aspects of human trafficking. This year, of course, we're here in Ranchi, and the objective here is to try to understand the nuances of trafficking for labor, with a particular emphasis on child labor, which I'm told is a particular concern in this part of India. To talk about the children of India, any discussion involving India's 400 million children, which is 1/3 of India's population, cannot avoid issues like child development, education, safety, and health. These are interlinked issues in the Indian state, the government, through policy initiatives backed by budgetary support, plays a key role in addressing these. Particularly want to note the Integrated Child Development Scheme, the Integrated Child Protection Scheme, and the Sharva Shiksha Abhiyan, the midday meal initiative, work to reduce vulnerability of India's children and make a huge difference in the lives of a vast number of Indians on a daily basis. I'm also happy to note that here in Jharkhand State, there is an action plan for the elimination of child labor. This plan identifies key sectors where children find employment as workers: in hotels, at roadside restaurants, as domestic workers, in brick kilns, coal picking, mining, baking, automobile workshops, building construction, stone crunching, rag picking, and the list goes on. The state action plan says that around 33,000 girls, fully or partially illiterate, who come from poor families but usually below 18 years old, are trafficked out of Jharkhand every year. 33,000, it's a big number. These girls are forced to work in households, brothels, restaurants, and factories. We would like to emphasize the word forced and argue, like many in the room I believe would also argue, that no one, adults or children, should be forced to work. I would go a step further and argue that no child should be working. Childhood is not the time to be working up, to be doing livelihood. It's the time to be growing and developing as a human being. More specifically, the numbers for Jharkhand. The state's population, according to the 2011 census, is 33 million. The state action plan says 40% of these are children, which brings us to a number of 12.8 million children. Again, it says the 91,000 children in the 5 to 14 years age group are permanent workers. 91,000, working more than 6 months of the year. In addition to the 91,000, there are 160,000 children who work between 3 and 6 months of the year, and an additional 145,000 children who work less than 3 months a year. This means at least 400,000 of Jharkhand's 12.8 million children, or around 3%, are currently engaged either as permanent or as seasonal workers. The annual health survey data for 2012-2013 corroborates the 2011 census data. So what do these figures reveal or hide? They say many of our children in Jharkhand and other states are forced to work when they should be playing and studying. The data indicate that many of them remain vulnerable to severe exploitation. What the data does not reveal is the nature and identity of the exploiters. It is relatively easier to identify exploiters involved in sex trafficking. Once identified, it is also relatively easier to intervene because sex trafficking is often directly in conflict with the local laws, with the laws of the land. However, in the case of child and labor trafficking, the exploiter is mostly people known to us or people we care about. They are our parents, cousins, relatives, friends, neighbors, in whose homes, restaurants, shops, or offices, and factories we find children employed as workers, often under unacceptable conditions. So what is our role? We're here today to debate, discuss, and advocate for making policies that will ensure a better deal for these children. The government of the United States is deeply committed to combating all forms of human trafficking, which we regard as modern-day slavery. As part of the commitment, the U.S. Consulate has been trying to provide a platform for people like you, the champions against human trafficking in various facilities, can come together to make the movement to take the movement and resolve further. This initiative for the U.S. government is not confined to the U.S. Consulate. Our entire mission in India, our consulates in Mumbai, Hyderabad, Chennai, and the U.S. Embassy in Delhi have either hosted similar conclaves or are planning to host them in the near future. I have colleagues here today from our consulate in Mumbai and from our embassy in New Delhi. At the advocacy and policy level for the State Department, we do our annual Trafficking in Persons report, which is the global benchmark to learn about the status of human trafficking worldwide. In the introduction of the 2014 Trafficking in Persons report, which is the most recent one that's been published, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry described human trafficking as one of the foremost contemporary challenges. I want to quote him, if I may. According to Secretary Kerry, one absolutely inextricably linked to the broader effort to spread the rule of law in the face of crisis of failed states, we find perhaps no greater assault on basic freedom than the evil of human trafficking. Whether it comes in the form of a young girl trapped in a brothel, a woman enslaved as a domestic worker, a boy forced to sell himself on the street, or a man abused on a fishing boat, the victims of this crime have been robbed of the right to lead the lives they choose for themselves, and trafficking and its consequences have a spillover effect that touches every element of a society. End quote. In addition to assessment of what every government around the world is doing to combat modern slavery, our annual Trafficking in Persons report takes a hard look at the journey from victim to survivor, making recommendations and highlighting effective practices that, if implemented, could ease the path forward for countless survivors around the world. It's an important point to remember. Our work, as so many of you do, is not just to identify the problem, but to try to find solutions to the problem and help repatriate, reacclimate people Nations Palermo Protocol, the Indian government amended the Penal Code in April of 2013, an amendment that greatly improves the country's laws, broadening the types of crimes considered to be trafficking and establishing more stringent sentences for traffickers. The Ministry of Home Affairs continued to establish anti-human trafficking units, which are responsible for combining law enforcement and rehabilitation efforts. Our increased knowledge of the complexity of trafficking shows us that the challenges we face, but it also encourages us to cooperate, collaborate, and come up with systems and protocols that can address trafficking across regions, provinces, and national boundaries. I again want to welcome all of you, and I want to end my talk here today by quoting my president, President Obama, which sets the future agenda for the United States on trafficking. According to President Obama, quote, "As we work to dismantle trafficking networks and help survivors rebuild their lives, we must also address the underlying forces that push so many into bondage. We must develop economies that create legitimate jobs, build a global sense of justice that says no child should ever be exploited, and empower our daughters and sons with the same chances to pursue their dreams." Unquote. I think that's a mandate that I'm proud to carry forward, and I hope you will join us in doing so. I want to challenge each and every one of us here today to challenge trafficking where we see it and be part of trying to find a solution and helping people not become exploiters, not be exploited, and recover if they are exploited. If you see exploitation, I urge you to stop ignoring it and think about how you can help. I know that's something everybody in this room does already, but I want to champion that and encourage you to work further and farther. I'm looking forward to this day and a half of discussion, of sharing of information, and seeing where we go from here. Thank you very much for joining us.
यूएस कॉन्सुल जनरल मिस हेलेन लफाफ जी का हम बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं और इसके साथ ही हम अंत में आईपीएस एंटी ट्रैफिकिंग एक्सपर्ट टाटा चेयर प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर पीएम नायर जी को आमंत्रित करना चाहते हैं।
जोहार, नमस्कार। जसविंदा जी, अगले सेशन में मेरे को काफ़ी लंबा बात करना है, इसलिए मैं इस सेशन में थोड़ा बहुत इंग्लिश में बोलना चाहता हूँ। अगले सेशन में, नेक्स्ट सेशन आई विल मोस्टली डीलिंग इन हिंदी, so kindly permit me to address a few points in English. Human trafficking, ultimate violation of human rights. Constitution of India says trafficking in every form is prohibited. We, the people of India, swear by the Constitution. We, the people of India, give a mandate to ourselves that this is the mandate given by we to ourselves. This says trafficking in every form is prohibited. Every citizen of India, every person in India has a duty to ensure that no person is trafficked. How many of us are doing that? How many of us are doing that? हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन कहता है कि हमने अपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन we give the constitution to our India. How many of us are doing that? Why leave to NGOs and why leave to Shakti Vahini and why leave to PKS and why leave to Anurag Gupta and why leave to Arana Singh only? Why not all of us? Let's all of us part of the mission. We are the cause. We are the root cause. If we are not part of that problem, part of the solution, we are part of that problem. We are part of that problem. Let us be aware of this. I'm happy my friend Greg spoke so eloquently in Hindi. मेरा हिंदी उतना अच्छा नहीं है. अभी भी मद्रासी हिंदी है. Well, friends, sale and purchase, so much of demand, so much of vulnerability. Very happy this young lady spoke about the vulnerability factors, the demand factors. We create demand. Why there is sex trafficking? Men demand sex. Why? What's the reason? We should understand the reason. They are the cause. They are the cause. If children are trafficked, tribal girls are trafficked to Delhi for domestic help and are exploited there, the demand there. Why not address the demand? We need to address the demand with all might we have. We need to address the vulnerability we have on the ground. Both have to be linked together. Great work has been done, my friends, by the government, by the NGOs, by the UN agencies. I find a lot of people in Nepal, Bangladesh here. That's why I chose to speak in English here. INGOs, commendable work, and of course individuals too. We have a classic work in the NHRC, research, following action, etc., etc. I'm happy my elder brother, Mr. Ramesh, actually I'm elder brother, police में वो एक साथ थे, मेरा DIG था, मैं SP थे. and we had a commendable time work, very pleasant work to work with. So, you know what things have changed across the country in great measure. In great measure, things have changed. But what change is only islands of excellence. What you see in the country is islands of excellence only. It is not spread across the country. We need to take it forward. So I was talking to the minister also, and I said, sir, madam, aap Jharkhand ke hain. I have 2-3 suggestions to give. Just let me tell you what I told the minister. Number one, Bihar has got something called a state plan of action. Andhra has state plan of action. Maharashtra has state plan of action. Government has got some plan of action which is a vintage now. I wish the new government, Modi government, I was very happy to hear the minister saying that. I'm sure they will do something, they must change. But the state plan of action, Jharkhand is missing. So I want the minister, I told madam, एक झारखंड में comprehensive plan of action बनाओ, उसमें accountability भी लगाओ. कोई लड़की को rescue कराए, the child is rescued by a police officer, Aradhana Singh today. What will she do? She will give to some welfare department says, अच्छा देखते हैं, that is a welfare act. Why should that be a welfare act? That's a rights act, that's a right to the person. Under the constitution, it's a duty of the person and a right to the person not to be trafficked. Therefore, we need to bring that rights perspective into the law. Plan of action में आप बनाइए, make a plan of action that when Aradhana Singh rescues a person, when Anurag Gupta rescues a person, that welfare department must ensure rehabilitation. That must clause to be coming. Therefore, we bring a plan of action. मैंने उनको बोला, she said, आ जाओ मेरे ऑफिस में, मेरे को बताओ क्या करना है. Very happy to hear that. Secondly, a person is rescued of prevention. Police department, welfare department, health department, counseling department, forensic department. You have so many departments. Now, can the victim, if I am a victim, will I go to the police officer, then I go to the home department, then I go to the culture department, then I go to the health department, then I go to the forensic department, then I go to the counseling department, then I go to this department, that department. God knows where I should go. Why should I go? I have a right not to be trafficked. Can we have a single body? Can we have a single body in the state? I respect the honorable ministers here, told madam also, and I request the chairman of the state tribal commission, tribal SD commission, sir, let's work together and bring out a comprehensive Jharkhand anti-human trafficking body. Jharkhand anti-human trafficking body, all departments should come there. It should be a convergence. Modi speaks about a convergence. I'm very happy to hear that, and the Prime Minister speaks about that. Let's bring convergence in Jharkhand and bring all these bodies together. सबको एक साथ लाके एक convergent body बनाए, and that will be a great contribution of this conclave. A contribution from this conclave. Next point, sir, we need to recognize there are NGOs working on health, NGOs working on energy. Very easy to work. I don't say it's not difficult, it's easy to work. Ask about the NGOs working on human trafficking. अरे rescue करना इतना मुश्किल. Ask Denika, how many times night, day, he's been doing the field. Ask the people sitting here, up under Sanjay Mishra. No, so difficult to rescue, so difficult to keep the girl, so difficult to counsel the person. It's extremely difficult. Ask the inspector investigating the case. I was part of the Rajiv Gandhi assassination. I tell you, I investigated trafficking crime in Goa case. My most difficult case I ever investigated in my 25 years of life was trafficking crime. You know why? It's so difficult to communicate with the person, so difficult to understand the person. You have to change yourself. You have to change your paradigm. You have to change your mindset. In that process, you became a difficult person. You know, your mind, you become a solid, your mind becomes a sort of stone. What sort of violation do you have faced in the society? You know, you become a different person. So it's actually extremely difficult because the conflict within the person to investigate trafficking crime. Therefore, these NGOs working on human trafficking, these police working on human trafficking are extremely difficult work. They are really undertaking a difficult task. We have all the Padma Shris going here and there. Cannot the government consider one Padma Shri to an NGO or a police officer or somebody working on human trafficking? Let's work on that. And if you raise a voice, timely raise a voice, then we also deserve Padma Shri. We are not doing commendable great work. Lastly, I think we should all work together. I'm very happy my colleague in the US Embassy said it's working together. That's a motto, is working together. And if you work together, we will change, we can change. We will ensure that the women and children of Jharkhand, we will ensure women and children of this region, we will ensure women and children of India, we will ensure women and children of the entire region are safe. They are not for sale, they are not for exploitation. I am sure we can work together and take it forward. कौन कहता है आसमान में छेद नहीं हो सकता? कौन कहता है आसमान में छेद नहीं हो सकता? एक पत्थर तो उछालो तबीयत से यारो. जय हिंद.
half as we continue to discuss different ways of tackling this menace, as we said. Now we're going to break for our tea break. As we are a little behind on time, thoda late hai. Instead of having 15 minutes for a tea break, we're going to have maybe 8 minutes, 8 minutes. So आप लोग जल्दी आपका चाय ले लीजिए. So please quickly take your chai, and if you can come back to your seats, so we can